You know that classic winter scene? A school playground, maybe a little bit of snow on the ground? For the kids, it's awesome. But for the adults in charge, well, it's a surprisingly big decision they have to make every single cold morning.
I mean, we've all wondered about this, right? You send your kid to school all bundled up, and you're just hoping they get a little fresh air. But where's the line? At what temperature do they decide, nope, everybody's staying inside today?
You would think there's a simple official number, a national rule that everyone follows. But the truth is, there isn't one. The real decision is way more local, and honestly, a lot more complicated than you might think. All right, so if the federal government isn't making the call, then who is? To really get it, we need to zoom out and look at the national picture to see why one single rule just wouldn't fly. And this is official. The Department of Education basically says, hey, we don't have a top-down rule. And it makes total sense, right? A rule that works for kids in, say, Miami would be completely useless for kids in Anchorage. So here's the key. This whole responsibility, it lands right on the shoulders of the folks on the ground. We're talking about school principals and local district leaders. They're the ones who have to look at their specific community's weather every single day. And that means they have a really tough call to make. Because getting it right isn't just about looking at a number on a thermometer. It's about understanding that when it comes to weather, it's all about location, location, location. This comparison just lays it out so perfectly. Take Southern California. Kids there might not even own a heavy winter coat. So for them, a 50-degree day might actually feel too cold for recess. Now flip over to Minnesota. Kids there are expected to show up in full snow gear, and they'll play outside until it is literally freezing. A single national rule would be wrong for both of them. Okay, so if the temperature on the thermometer isn't the whole story, what else are principals looking at? Well, there's another factor that a lot of the time matters even more. And that factor is wind chill, the feels-like temperature. This chart from the National Weather Service shows exactly how wind just strips heat away from your body. So for instance, look at 30 degrees up top. A little chilly, sure. But now add a 20-mile-per-hour wind. All of a sudden, it feels like it's only 17 degrees out. That's a massive difference, and that feels-like number is often the one that really matters. But a principal's job isn't just about reading weather charts. They're also caught right in the middle of some pretty strong opinions from the two groups who care the most, parents and teachers. On one side, you've got parents, and a lot of them are rightly concerned that their kids need a break from sitting at a desk all day. They need to get out and burn off some energy. Some feel so strongly about it that they've actually started petitions to make sure their kids get outside, even when it's cold. Then, on the other side, you've got the teachers. And as one teacher put it, very bluntly, supervising recess in the biting cold can be just miserable. And while their top priority is always the kids' safety, let's be real, it's tough to effectively watch dozens of kids when you can't feel your own face. And finally, cutting through all the different opinions is the medical perspective, which is crucial. As pediatrician Dr. Tony Pongin says, we have to remember that children are not just little adults. They are physically more vulnerable to the cold, and that is just a non-negotiable fact. And because kids are more vulnerable, it is incredibly important that every adult, whether you're a parent, a teacher, a playground supervisor, whatever, knows the warning signs that a child is getting too cold. The biggest risk here is hypothermia. This is a very serious medical condition where the body starts to lose heat faster than it can make it, and that causes the core body temperature to drop dangerously low. So what are the red flags to look for? Well, it starts with the obvious one, shivering. That's the body's first alarm bell. But then you have to watch closer. Are they starting to get clumsy? Are their movements looking a little stiff or jerky? Is their skin, especially on their hands or feet, getting a bluish tint? Those are all clear signs to act. And the most serious symptoms are neurological. We're talking slurred speech or any kind of confusion. If you see that, it's an emergency. Get them inside right away. And you also need to be on the lookout for signs of frostbite. This is when body tissue actually freezes. You want to look for skin that's turned white or grayish. And listen, if a child complains about a burning feeling in their fingers or toes, that is an urgent symptom that needs medical attention immediately. Okay. Knowing the risks is a huge part of the battle. But the good news is there are a lot of simple, practical things we can all do to beat the cold and make sure kids stay safe and warm. Really, it all boils down to preparation. Dressing kids in layers is key. It traps heat and blocks the wind. And here's a fantastic pro tip. Keep an extra hat and gloves in their cubby at school. You never know when you'll need them. Schools can also be flexible, maybe doing shorter recesses or waiting till the afternoon when it's warmest. And above all else, remember, wet equals cold. Wet-resistant gear is a must-have because nothing makes a kid colder faster than being damp. So in the end, it's not about finding one magic number on a thermometer. It's this complex balancing act between wind chill, the local climate, and just plain old good preparation. It's weighing the fact that kids need to play against the very real dangers of the cold. And that leaves us with one final question for you to think about. How well does your school's policy actually fit the reality of your local weather?